Hello, welcome back to the channel. You are tuned into Cali X Boxing. And much like Dwyer, you were listening to an internet, a person on the internet. What does he say? A person on, help me out, Chicano. You're listening to a person on the internet. So whatever he says. Shout out to Dwyer. It's been a while. So we'll have a little ring rust today, but it's been a while. Have had some stuff going on, but we're back in the clear now. And this channel will be back up, ramped up. We'll be doing our thing. Shout out D-Style for giving me the platform over there for, you know, whenever I have time to pop up on his channel. We've been doing HCP, roundtable. So I pop up over there to download my boxing thoughts to the interwebs without having to fire up my channel the past couple months with stuff going on. But after about 2 months, this channel's back up and running. And we're back up and running. Shout out Chicano Prophet, Wheelchair Man John. I hit the like button before the video even starts. Shout out to you. Just hit the like button. Do one thing for me. Hit the like button. Just hit the like button. Consider this an opinion from a complete stranger online. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chicano. Consider this an opinion from a complete stranger online. So today we've got Lomachenko, Kambosos, lightweight division. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Canelo, the whole landscape in and around 168 for Canelo. Where do we go from here? I've already given my thoughts on the fight. I'll give a little more thoughts on that, and also Inoue at 122. The landscape in and around 122 for Inoue. We might dive into the whole Ryan Garcia situation, but God, man, to be quite honest, that whole thing just wears me out. It just completely wears me out. I don't know what to think about the drug testing stuff. VADA, WADA, USADA. I got Beeb sending me stuff. Look over here. I got other people sending me stuff contradicting that. This person contradicts this one. This person contradicts that one. It's the most complex situation, subject in boxing, and that's why I just choose to ignore it. And it doesn't seem like we're headed anywhere with it. It doesn't seem like we're going anywhere with it. But I might take a stab at it later on and give my own personal opinion, personal angle on it. Lomachenko is a minus 750 favorite going into this fight. Lomachenko's back. Australia, Kambosos. 3-minute stare down between the two yesterday. Kambosos, of course, points to his head after, like he's in Lomachenko's head, the art of war, right? So Kambosos is in Lomachenko's head, apparently. Kambosos with that perfect fade. That dude's got the fade of a 90s white rapper. Perfect fade, great barber, and he's out there getting in Lomachenko's head, right? He's all in Lomachenko's head. And it's not going to work. Kambosos is in a lot of trouble in this fight. There's one angle you could play to where possibly, and by the way, hit that like button for me. If you do one thing, hit that like button for a player. We are back. The channel is back. Like I said, there'll be ring rust today, but it is what it is. And Gambit fan does not want to talk about, he does not want to talk about drug testing. Please don't. It's so boring and catty, and I agree. I agree. Dudes are out here. TR ratio 3-1 versus TR ratio 5-1. VADA versus WADA versus USADA. And I've taken the position over time, much like my boy, shout out Real Spitz, who doesn't even follow boxing anymore. He's a casual fan. And one of the reasons is too many obstacles in the way of fights. And he used to tell me, circa 2010, 2011, why is Floyd doing this Nancy Reagan thing? Can we please just get fights? Drug testing is just another obstacle in the way of my fights, and I want my fights. And I learned my lesson when we broke the Eric Morales story back in 2012, and the reason I always bring it up is it applies here, and I noticed that we're not headed anywhere. And I noticed that the boxing fans, the first thing they asked me is the fight still happening? They didn't care. Didn't care. Didn't care about the substance. Didn't care about qualitative versus quantitative. It's qualitative versus quantitative, don't you know? And quantitative means this and qualitative means that, and it's all too complex. I've learned over time as I get older, two things. Simplicity is better than complexity. We need to simplify. The other thing I've noticed is for all the fighters who are out here taking VADA testing, going the extra mile when other fighters aren't because they think they're going to get extra kudo points for it. People are going to think what they want to think about you regardless of what you do. You can appease, you can go the extra mile. Truth of the matter is, if Nonito Donaire comes back, turns the clock, puts on a great performance in the lower weight class in his 40s, you can take all the VADA testing you want. The guys are going to point to him and say, I think that guy's cheating. They're not going to know VADA, WADA. Nah, they're not going to care. It is what it is. But as far as Lomachenko versus Kambosos, Lomachenko's been around a while. So the angle could be Kambosos gets to him, being that Lomachenko is past his prime. Obviously, it hits everybody, right? And Lomachenko's always been a decision fighter at lightweight. Always been. He's 7-2 at lightweight with 3 KOs. 33% KO percentage at lightweight. He's not a stopper at lightweight. And on the show Monday night, the roundtable, everybody's picking Lomachenko by stoppage, late stoppage. And I'm saying I'm not making that mistake again. I've made this mistake the past few fights of betting the favorite by late stoppage. I'm not doing it anymore, especially in this fight. We have a pattern now of Lomachenko as a decision fighter at this weight class. He's a decision fighter at this weight class. That's who he is. Kambosos, you can say what you want about him. Bases out there on the round table, making fun of him for that weird switch hitting, right? He does that weird switch hitting. He switches to southpaw, conventional southpaw, and nothing happens. It's like, why in the world does this guy keep switching? Stop switching. It's not doing anything. And one thing we got to give Kambosos, he's tough. He's a durable fighter. He's tough. He's been in there with guys, but he's lasted. You got to give him that at least. But he's a limited fighter. We've seen that over time. Milli Vanilli style, it seems like he's a one-hit wonder. One-hit wonder. The stars aligned for him that night against Teofimo. He capitalized on it. You got to give it to him. That was a great victory, and you can never take that away from him. But Milli Vanilli had Girl, You Know It's True. They had Blame It on the Rain. So in that instance, you could say they're more than a one-hit wonder. But Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby. Maybe you could say Vanilla Ice more than one-hit wonder too, right? Because he had Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go. But the point remains, these dudes couldn't sustain it, and Kambosos can't sustain that. He's been able to, good for him, parlay this into other big fights, fight after fight after fight. He's been able to parlay that into the A side in Oklahoma against Maxie Hughes and getting a gift decision. And now he's parlayed that fake victory into a fight with Lomachenko. Lomachenko has to pick up the pieces. He didn't get the decision against Devin Haney, which he should have. Should have. I'm not going to go back. Not going to go into the past. But you dudes have never weighed body punching that much, especially against a fighter who is not having success with the body attack because he did not slow Lomachenko down. And once again, I'm going to go over this one more time real quick. Going into that fight, Lomachenko versus Devin Haney, it was the jab versus the straight left. Jab versus straight left. Queen piece versus queen piece. Well, Devin Haney's queen piece was taken away. And you dudes want to give him extra credit for landing these little body shots that didn't slow Lomachenko down. Didn't get the victory. Cries in the locker room. Loses all the belts. Now he's got to pick up the pieces. That's what it is. Life is unfair. It is what it is. Life is unfair. Salido blows off weight. Comes in at 128 1/4. You still fight the fight. Life is unfair. You lose the fight. It is what it is. 17-3, whatever your record is. We got to deal with what is, and you got to pick up the pieces now. My question is this. How much more are we going to see of Lomachenko? I think as long as this guy, he's a professional, he stays in shape. As long as he's around, we'll get a good version of Lomachenko. We're not going to get the best version of Lomachenko, a great version of Lomachenko, but he's still number one in the weight class. Why is he still number one in the weight class with losses? Well, Teofimo beats him, moves up. Devin Haney beats him, moves up. Ryan Garcia doesn't do anything in the division, moves up. God only knows his plan, what he's doing. He's talking about fighting Errol Spence on August 10th. Shout out Nando Yamas, $4.99 super chat. I always appreciate the support. And I'm going to get to the comments in a minute. Shaking off the ring rust today. But he's still number one. Ring Magazine has him number one in their rankings, and I agree with that. Why? Because the other guys in the weight class simply don't have the resume yet. William Zepeda, love him to death. And part of him not having the resume is guys just don't want to fight him. But there was the Shakur thing. He could have got that fight, didn't get the fight, whatever. Didn't fight the fight, whatever. Tank Davis refuses to fight top competition within the division, has openly ducked Lomachenko for over half a decade. Lomachenko is still number one in the division. He's still the top lightweight. Still a top lightweight. But Kambosos isn't going to be able to out-active Lomachenko because he's not a more active fighter than Lomachenko. All he can do is get in there and try to make it rough, ugly the thing up, and land a big shot. The problem with that is, when's the last time we've seen Lomachenko hurt? Have we ever seen Lomachenko hurt? Durable fighter at the weight class. This is a decision fight, fellas. So for me, I'm betting Lomachenko on points. I told you last week on Twitter, Friday, to take the easy bet. And the easy bet with Canelo versus Munguia was Canelo minus 220 to outthrow Munguia. It's an easy bet. Or Munguia to outthrow Canelo minus 220. It's a more active fighter. Canelo more economical fighter. You just take the easy bet. And I'm telling you the same thing here. I think the easy play here is Lomachenko on points minus 162. I don't think he's going to go to Australia and stop Kambosos. Although he might. It might be a throw in the towel fight. I'm not shutting the door on that. I just think it's the easy play, given the data that we have of Lomachenko at the weight, given the data that we have of Kambosos at the weight, that this is a wide decision fight. This is a 10-2, 11-1 type of fight where Lomachenko does his thing and Kambosos gets a couple comparative rounds and Kambosos lasts and Lomachenko styles on him but doesn't get the stoppage. And where does that leave us going forward? And the reason I say I don't know how much more we're going to see of Lomachenko is he seems like, from the interviews I've seen of him, that he's 1 foot out the door, that there's not much left of him, that the end is near, that there's a lot of mental toll that's been placed on Lomachenko the past few years by what's been going on in Ukraine. And the narrative has been that he's a war over here. The boxing public in America, or the boxing journalists in America, have pushed this propaganda that he's a war hero over there and all this stuff, right? And from all the research I've done, it's not that cut and dry. And there's a big toll that's been placed on him and his family out in Ukraine, and it's war on him. And I think it has a lot to do with why you saw those tears and the dejection after the Devin Haney fight in the locker room. And I think it has a lot to do with why he's become a sturdy, sure, twice-per-year fighter to a once-per-year fighter. I think there's a lot going on. But I do believe if he gets past his fight with Kambosos, we will see him a second time this year. And who's going to be that fight? Bob Arum said he wants to make Shakur Stevenson. I think part of that is to keep Shakur Stevenson within that top-ranked roster, right? So to make that fight later on in the year, Shakur gets past his fight, Lomachenko gets past his fight, but never that day. But I think it's a more crowd-pleasing fight, stylistically better, and it's a big fight for both guys. It's one that can sell. And Shakur Stevenson's a big fight. And either way, there are unifications there. Good news. It's movement in the division for title holders. But my position on Shakur Stevenson at this moment, and my position in boxing overall, is I don't need fighters to win or lose to dictate whether I want to see that fighter in his next fight. Shakur Stevenson is on my do not watch list right now. Nakathila, I forgave him for that performance. Forgave him. And he won the fight, but said, this guy, good Lord. Watching him fight Nakathila was like watching, I don't know, man, like a conversation between Fran Drescher and Fantasia. Like, oh my God, what is this? Get this away. Get it away. It's like watching Geely. Get it away from me. And then I said, all right, he's got something going. Seems like he's got some entertainment value now, and he's a great fighter. We all know he's a great fighter. But then he does it again with De Los Santos. And once again, it's like Gilly too. It's like, get this again? Get this away from me. Get it away from me. I don't want anything to do with this. Get it away from me. So even if fighters win, if you don't entertain, bro, get out of here. Get out of here. The one thing I like about Turki Al-Sheikh is he's bringing fighters coming off of losses and draws and then bringing them right back. Nick Ball, draw, bring him back. Deontay Wilder is known as an entertaining fighter. He wasn't against Joseph Parker, but he's built up that reputation. He loses the fight, bring him back. Bring him back. Crazy concept. I want to be entertained. Win or lose, I want to be entertained. If you entertain me in a loss, bring him back. If you bore us to death in a win, and these American boxing fans are going to act like, yeah, but he won. Hit and don't get hit. Don't hit and don't get hit. He didn't get hit. Great. Let him go do that somewhere else. Banish him. Let him go do that in Antarctica. Don't care. Don't want to see it. I don't want to see hit and don't get hit. It's hit and don't get hit. You don't understand. It's the hit and don't, the art of hit and don't get hit, and it's an art. Okay, bring that art somewhere else. Bring it to another art gallery. Not here. Please don't waste your time talking about the clown of Ryan. Shout out Liza. Liza hates Ryan. Liza. Liza. Did you not hear this guy? This guy's putting out great songs. Number one. You don't like Blessed and Highly Favored, Liza? You don't like the Haney Pack? Great, the best battle rap we've heard since Ether. You don't like that, Liza? Talking about the Liza hates Ryan. Shout out to Liza. $4.99 super chat. Please don't waste your time talking about the clown. Mike Toe, appreciate you. $5 super sticker. I appreciate this, man. And once again, I am always, I'll say this, I am always humbled that people listen to this channel and listen to the podcast. Very humbled by it. I'll never speak down on anybody else. I always respect everybody's opinion. So it is what it is. And it's good to be back here. It's been a while. Had some stuff going on, like I said, and I appreciate D-Style for opening up his platform for me always to go on there and download my thoughts when I do have time. So now we got time, and now the channel's back up and running. So I appreciate y'all. I'm actually surprised I'm getting people over here after 2 months taking off. Thought I would have to train some people to come back, but it is what it is. Good to be back and good to have people. Does Liza hate Ryan more than according to smoking that Haney Pack. Don't get your hopes up about Shakur. Whole tendencies never fade, and it's a trend now. Like it's a couple. The trend is I don't want to see it again, and then he reels me back in a little bit, and then I never want to see him again. So what I'm doing, July 6th, he's fighting, right? I'm not watching. Not watching. Not watching. You're not going to beat Edward De Los Santos by running the whole time and saying, my shoulder, my shoulder. Everybody has injuries. And look, dude, if you're going to complain about the injury, don't fight. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. And this is painful to me because I've been saying for a while, it's a pound for pound fighter. That could be the best fighter in the world, pound for pound one day, but you have to entertain. Dudes think they can become Floyd Mayweather. And that's one of one, fellas. It's one of one. Floyd stunk up the joint, stuck up the joint, coasted the decision victories, 10-2, 11-1, and people kept coming back because Floyd perfectly polarized the market. These dudes don't have that personality. They don't have the gift of gab. They don't have it. You got to fight the fights. You got to be entertaining doing them. So give me the entertaining fighters. Give me those. Give me the action stars. Tag, run around some more. Hold, ref hooks you up. Tag again, repeat. And this is another thing. Is I enjoy fighters who fight with a higher degree of difficulty. And what I mean by that is they keep their hands free. They're not huggy bear. For the love of God, can referees Please start docking points for fighters who are tactically clinching, resetting. Tactical clinch, reset. Tactical clinch, reset. Tactical clinch, reset. Inoue gets knocked down. Is, oh my God, this guy's exposed. He's the worst man. Oh, what a hype job. He doesn't even fight in America. What a hype job. My favorite fighter would never get knocked down. You have all kind of guys in the Hall of Fame. All kind of guys, top 100 pound for pound fighters of all time that have been knocked down in fights, number one. And number two, these dudes are fighting a different way. They're fighting with a higher degree of difficulty. Why did Bud get touched up by Evanescence? Touched up? What do you mean? He got hit by Evanescence, exposed. Just wait till Errol hits him with that punch. Oh my God, it's going to be lights out. It's going to be lights out when Errol touches Bud the way Evanescence did. And I'm telling him, he's not gonna. You think Bud's going to allow Errol to hit him with the same shots he allowed Evanescence to hit him with so he can lure Evanescence in? They're fighting with a higher degree of difficulty. They're going for knockouts. Bud and Inoue share much of the same American fan base, which is why I'm telling you right now, beware of the dudes trying to sow division. And look, I don't want to say this. I don't want to be the one to do it. I don't want to be the one to do it. Mostly because I get nothing out of it. But let's do it. These Bud super duper duper fans, let me call them that, because I'm actually a Bud super fan. I have been since forever. And I'm the one, I'm going to pat myself on the back once again. I'm the one who was telling you 11, 12 years ago, you're paying attention to Adrian Broner? You're saying he's the next Floyd? You're saying he's top 5? These dudes had Adrian Broner number 5 on their pound for pound list. Publications. Adrian Broner. And I'm saying he can't mix offense with defense. It's too lackadaisical. Too economical. It's not going to work. It's not going to work when he steps up. Obviously, weight bullying, missing weight, it's not going to work. There's this guy from Omaha that you're not paying attention to. His name is Bud Crawford. That's the one. That's the one. And I say that to set this up because dudes are going to come at me. They like to do this thing where anybody who gives any sort of critical advice, let's call it, to Bud and his team are haters. It's not what it is. And thankfully, it looks like Turkey Al-Sheikh is behind the wheel now and saying, Madrimov, and let's get Bud right back December, January. And I'm like, yes, do it. Let's go. Let's go. I would love to see Bud become the clear pound for pound king. Let's do it. Let's go. But in order to do that, he's got to fight. You got to fight. You can't pop up every 12, 11 months, no matter what's going on. I understand this guy's ducking, that guy's ducking. They're freezing you out. You got to find a fight. Let's go. And now we got movement. But these new super duper 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 Bud fans that are doing this stuff for clicks, they're doing it for clicks. And they're trying to sow division over here between Bud and Canelo fans. And a lot of us are both Bud and Canelo fans. And a lot of us are both fans of Inoue, Bud, and Canelo. Me. I don't like it. I don't like it. And you can do whatever you want to do. But what I'm saying is you're not going to apply this stuff to me. You're not going to apply it. And you're not going to apply it to some of these people in the chat. Because a lot of the people in the chat are just good, unbiased boxing fans who like to see dudes in title fights and preferably like to see dudes knock people the hell out in title fights. If you don't want that, go follow Tank. This isn't for the faint of heart. We like the feeling in the gut of our stomach when Cotto's about to fight Margarito in the second fight. You're a Cotto fan and you're like, I don't know, man. I hope we get this revenge. Hope we get the revenge, but I don't know. If you're a Tito fan and he's fighting Oscar De La Hoya in a legacy fight, both are undefeated, you get that sinking feeling in your stomach. You're not one of those fans that says, what did Oscar bring to the table? What does Oscar bring to the table? But that's what dudes are doing now. They want to keep fights on paper because they love mythical matchups, because their fighter's not going to lose a mythical matchup. They'll just say they'll win. So if you like that type of stuff, go follow Tank. But the beautiful thing about Bud, Inoue, and Canelo is they fight title fights. They like to knock guys out. Canelo is now a decision fighter. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But they want to sow division now between Inoue and Bud fans. Inoue and Bud. Anytime somebody like me comes around and says Inoue is the pound for pound king, why is Inoue the pound for pound king? Hold on, let me see. This is D-Style Boxing, $5 super chat. Calix only speaks down on people that don't worship Nakatani. It's true. Stop hating on Juto Nakatani, D-Style. This dude's been hating on Juto Nakatani. Stop the Asian hate. Stop the Asian hate, D-Style. Stop hating on Juto Nakatani. Shout out to D-Style, $5 super chat. Liza, no according to boxing, takes it. And shout out to according to boxing. I got no issue with him. All I'm saying is this. For the dudes who are out there trying to sow division, you can like both. And if I have Inoue pound for pound, and you say Bud's pound for pound, I was like, okay, it's fine. It's good. Yeah, but you need to have Bud pound for pound too. It's like, what? What? Bud's the best fighter in the world. So why do you have Inoue pound for pound? Look, I have Inoue pound for pound. You have Bud pound for pound. It's fine. It's fine. It's a subjective list. Go ahead. No, but it's objective. Bud's the best fighter in the world. No, it's not. It's not objective. Why do you have Inoue pound for pound? Clearly, I can clearly explain it to you. Since 2020, the shutdowns, he's fought twice as much. Since 2021, he's fought more than twice as much. Fought 7 times. Bud's fought 3. They're both putting on great pound for pound performances every single time out. Much like Mayweather, Pacquiao were doing back in their day, but they were fighting an equal amount of times, basically, Mayweather, Pacquiao. So it was hard to find that separation. They were both clearly on the same level. It's hard to find that separation. So it was not odd to see Pacquiao fight and people would have Pacquiao number 1. Then see Floyd fight and people have Floyd number 1. It's fair. They're fighting around equal amount of times. It's fine. The difference here is Inoue is outpacing him more than twice the amount of times fought the past 3 years. Twice as much the past 4 years. We're on the 5th calendar year of this. And if both are putting on pound for pound level performances every time, both are becoming undisputed. Both are fighting title fight after title fight after title fight, knocking guys out, doing it. Both are doing it. I'm going to favor the guy doing it more, especially since I'm the one on here all the time, more than anybody else, it seems, preaching about activity. So how hypocritical would I would be if I say both of these guys are on the same level? One guy's doing it twice as much, but I'm going to give it to the guy doing it the half amount of times. No, sorry. Fight more. And this is with all due respect. Love Bud. One of my favorite fighters for the past decade. I think he translates to any era. One of the best fighters I've ever seen. But I'm not going to give that to you. And if you have Bud pound for pound number 1, fine. Do it. See how easy that is? But you need to give criteria as to why you have it that way. I've given you my criteria. I've given you a top 10 pound for pound list, and I've given you people on the outside of that and the reasons why they're not on it. And I've given you reasons on my pound for pound list is why this guy's 1, why is this guy's 2, why is this guy 5, and I've given you reasons. And still, these dudes with the public education schooling system that has failed them, has left them behind. I'll say, and shout out to Chicano. Chicano will send me the videos of dudes doing 20-minute videos about my pound for pound list and why it sucks and why I'm the worst person on earth and why I'm Hitler. And they'll say, well, I'll say on my pound for pound list, Lomachenko is not here. All caps, Lomachenko is not on my pound for pound list. He's not on it. Not on it. Not on it. And these dudes will say, look at this racist with Lomachenko top 10 pound for pound. He's not on it. He's not on my pound for pound list. And I've given you a dissertation. I've given it to you. Why guys are on it, why they're not on it, and these dudes will still mess it up. And they'll still accuse you of things. And what I was talking about earlier with VADA testing. You can do all the VADA testing in the world. You can go above and beyond for these dudes and say, I'm clean, I'm clean. If they want you to be dirty, you're dirty. If they want you to be a racist, you are a racist. If they want you to have Lomachenko on your pound for pound list, even though you don't have Lomachenko on your pound for pound list for the past 2 or 3 years, he's on your pound for pound list. And nobody in the comment section is going to go to check. Nobody's going to fact check it. I have Lomachenko on my pound for pound list. Why? Because they say I do, even though I don't. And there it is. But back to Bud versus Inoue. That stuff right there. We can respect them both, right? I put out a tweet Monday afternoon saying, man, what a time to watch two all-time greats in basically the same weekend. Canelo fights Saturday night, does his thing against Munguia. I appreciate watching the dude fight still. And I turn on my TV 6:30 in the morning Central Time and watch Inoue fight. And I can watch two all-time greats fight within a 36-hour period, whatever it is. Watch them both fight and put on top performances against top 5 opposition in their weight class. Why can't we appreciate greatness? Why can't we just appreciate it? When me and D-Style, that week when Bud fought and Inoue fought in the same weekend, on the same week, last July, we had people on, and one of the people we had on was Boxing Wave, and Boxing Wave said, you know, I'm afraid that no matter what happens in these fights, people are going to just move past them quick. Like the next day, people are going to, that's the generation we live in now. The news cycle moves fast, but nobody just appreciates things. They just move past it. And the accusations were stacking of gloves with, or stacking of hand wraps with Inoue, all this stuff, right? And then we heard Crawford, after he beats down Errol Spence, that he was dirty too, right? They tried to get that going. Nobody can just enjoy greatness anymore, especially in America. And that's when I hear of Inoue coming to America and taking this tour of Yankee Stadium, of Dodger Stadium. And part of me just wants to say, dude, don't come here. Ring IQ is on the round table Monday night, and I agree with them. He's telling them, if I'm advising you, don't come here. Don't come here. These people don't appreciate anything. They're not going to appreciate the greatness. It's always going to be you're dirty. Your hand wraps are messed up. You're an elitist. You don't do interviews with American media. All this, let's call it what it is, xenophobia, right? They're not going to appreciate you here the way that they appreciate you in Japan. Things work over there. Things work over there. They do not work here. And it's why when Glenn Jennings is on D-Style's channel and I'm on there, I'll ask him, are you concerned of gridlock as you're entering the American market? And luckily, Turkey Al-Sheikh is around. They don't have to worry about that as much, right? He's throwing money around to keep Tim Tszyu busy. But you have to worry about different things in America because things do not work here. It's always excuses of why fights can't happen. In Japan, what happens? Jason Maloney goes to Japan and defends his belt. Why does he do that? He could have fought Lomachenko versus Kambosos undercard this weekend in Australia, in his home country, and defended there. But why does he do it? Because he knows things work there. And that's where the market is, and that's where the money is. I've already fought here. I can fight in the Tokyo Dome, 55,000. And the 55,000 are there for the first fight of the night? Not the first fight of the televised undercard, the first fight of the card. It's packed. Why would I go anywhere else? So if you're in a way you're saying, you better make it worthwhile for me to leave. You better make it worthwhile for me to leave. That's what I would advise him to do. If I was his manager, you better show me the money. You want me to fight in Wembley? Show me the money. And the good thing about Wembley is the UK fans are good too. Those are good fans. Those are high IQ fans. Japanese fans, high IQ, lower weight class fans. And things work over there. Things do not work here. They're broken. And the fans that are left, Leonard LRB told us, the boxing public, 200,000 left. Some people have said 150,000 hardcore boxing fans left. A lot of those are ungrateful. A lot of those don't support their fans. The Mexican-American boxing fans carry American boxing. Those are high IQ fans who want to be entertained, like fighters who go for legacy, like fighters who fight the fights, like fighters who keep their hands free, fight with a higher degree of difficulty, and they're not huggy bears and not clinching. And Tim Tszyu and his team are smart at trying to go after that market. Gennady Golovkin, say what you want about him, they were smart at going after that market in particular. That's smart. That's smart business. But other than that, the American boxing fan is largely uneducated, largely unpleasant. And if you're a foreign fighter in particular, they're going to accuse you of all kind of things, no matter what you do. You can take VADA testing. You can do all those things. You can show the world. Here, I'm getting my hands wrapped. Got them wrapped right? Everybody sees it. Got it wrapped right? I'm going to put my gloves on now. Y'all see, there's no egg weights, right? There's no egg weights in here. Everybody sees it, right? Everybody sees it. And they can show the film. The camera can follow you all the way to the ring. These dudes will still accuse you of doing some David Copperfield, David Blaine street magic in order to get egg weights or stack your reps or something. Just an unpleasant, uneducated, low IQ market here in America as far as boxing fans. It's where we are. It's where we are, fellas. So for my own selfish purposes, my own selfish things, I hope Inoue does come to America, because I travel to Dodger Stadium to go watch him fight. I would do it. And from what I hear, that's in the works, and they're hoping to get that done. I also hear Junto Nakatani likely returns to America at some point in 2024. For my own selfish gain, I hope those things happen. But at the same time, you better make it worthwhile to me to come here if I'm a Japanese fighter, because something's going on over there. Something's going on. Something's in the water over there. Because when you say, just listen to it real quick. Inoue is the first fighter to fight in the Tokyo Dome 33, 34 years. Who was the last person to do it? Mike Tyson, right? And people will say, well, there's always been great Japanese fighters. We just haven't had the exposure to them. Fair enough. The world has gotten smaller. We used to have to watch these fights on grainy links 10, 15 years ago. In Japan and all this stuff, lower weight class fights. We don't anymore. So there's more exposure to them, fair enough. But that doesn't explain why this is the first fight in the Tokyo Dome in 33, 34 years. That doesn't explain the Japanese market, who has always had exposure to Japanese fighters. Why is this happening? Why is it that we have now 14 title belts, 14 major belts Japan now holds? 14. America has 16. When's the last time you've seen it that close? When's the last time you've seen America? If Tim Tszyu doesn't get that cut, America would have the same amount of belts as Japan right now. When's the last time you've seen that? When's the last time? When's the last time you've seen that? Ever? Have you ever seen that? So us having more exposure to Japanese fighter does not explain what's going on over in Japan. There's something going on. Things are hot over there. They're producing better fighters. And the people in Japan are responding to this. It's a baseball country. Baseball would sell out Tokyo Dome. Not boxing, but now it does. Inoue is the face of that. You're going to have other Japanese fighters who are fighting on these undercards. And by the way, when we talk about why it works in Japan, why it works is because when you go to a fight, ask Liza, ask Drew, they go to a lot of fights. Ask them. When I went to see Canelo versus Golovkin 3 and Drew was there, he was sitting next to me for the BAM fight, which is the co-main, the place is 60% full. Gabe Rosado's fighting, you could hear a pin drop. Nobody's there. This is a televised card. Why do we say things work in Japan? The first card of the night. Drew was there. Drew can tell you. Shout out Drew. Drew can tell you. He was there Monday. Probably still out there. I don't know. I don't know if you've landed, but was out there. He can tell you the place is packed in the first fight of the night. Things work there. Ryan is winning the PR battle with the casual American sports fan in regards to this drug scandal, and hardcores are in their feelings. Love the chaos. Yeah, y'all are daring me. Y'all are daring me to touch on this Ryan thing. I pause. And I don't want to do it. No, Diddy. I don't want to do it. I'm not taking the bait, Drew. I'm not taking the bait. I'm not doing it. Liza doesn't want me to talk about it. So, I trust Liza's opinion. I'm not gonna talk about Ryan. I'm not gonna do it. Y'all can try to get me to do it all you want. I'm not gonna talk about Ryan. Inoue hater is gonna be like, see, even Calix says there's something going on. We need to bring them here and test them. Beware of the American boxing fighters. They're going to lure you in all the wrong directions. They've been doing it for at least a decade. I've seen them. I've watched them. I've observed them. I'm an observer of people, and I've observed these people. And Ring IQ is completely right about these dudes in the American boxing public and why he doesn't even talk to them anymore and why I'm staying away from it too. What they've done, and one of the reasons, one of the byproducts of this, one of the reasons now you have 16 belts held by Americans, 14 belts held by Japanese, 12 belts held by Mexican fighters. One of the reasons you have that is we've lowered our standards for American fighters over time. Every time an American fighter gets in trouble, every time an American fighter plays Huggy Bear and bores everybody to death, nobody wants to watch him again. And they say, it's hit and don't get hit, hit and don't get hit. Every single time a fighter fights once in 18 months, every single time a fighter sits on a booster seat with no license and hits a pregnant woman and 3 other people and gets a slap on the wrist and still can't behave after that, there's always excuses, right? Always excuses. A foreign fighter does anything, he's got to be dirty, got to be stacking gloves, stacking hand wraps, got to be putting egg weights in his gloves. Worst person on earth. Got to be on steroids, all of them. Not some steroids, all of them. He's on all the steroids. All of them. I don't even know any of them, but they're on all of them. They're on all of them. They're still demanding certain expectations of foreign fighters, but not American fighters. And that's why American fighters, people, it's not just boxers, this is life. People are going to live up or down to your expectations of them over time. And that's what's happened. And you try to warn them. I want what's best for American boxing. That's what I want. Been saying this for 15 years. Publicly. Podcast, whatever. Channel, videos, tweets. I want what's best for American boxers, and you guys are not doing what's best for American boxers. You're just out here virtue signaling. And look where we're at. Look where we're at now. We're in a position where the world has caught up. You don't have to come to America anymore to get your bag. We talk about face of boxing. Canelo's the face of boxing in America, even though he's from Mexico. In Japan, Inoue's the face of boxing. In the UK, Anthony Joshua, face of boxing. Anthony Joshua does not have to come to America to fight. Klitschko would come to America, come to New York to fight, but he would sell out in Germany. These dudes don't have to do that anymore. You don't need to do it. You don't need to appease to us. We are unpleasant. We are ungrateful. We are uneducated for the most part. You don't need to come to appease to us. The world is caught up. Anthony Joshua, you can fight in Saudi, in the UK till the cows come home. You're the face, bro. You're the face over there. Good for you. And same thing with Inoue. These dudes are going to lure you into a trap. They're going to tell you, you need to go and listen to them. It's podcast after podcast after podcast, and I'm listening to them, and I'm not listening to them. These are things that are scrolling down my Twitter timeline. What if Inoue fought Tank at a 130 catch weight? How about this? Simple concept. How about Tank fights a top guy at 135 for once? How about that? And how about you leave Inoue the hell alone? How about you demand something of some of these American fighters before you ask a foreign fighter to come up 3 weight classes? How about that? How about that? Crazy concept. Crazy concept. Weight classes. Yeah, but you don't understand. Dodger Stadium, Inoue versus Tank, be the biggest fight ever. Ariel Helwani, right? He's calling everybody noobs. Why Beebs not retracting his PBC on Prime? Drew's all over y'all. I don't know why. I think Beeb told me he had a big budget. I think he told me they had a budget over there. I don't know. Where is it? Why does D-Style hate Junto? I don't know why D-Style hates Junto. D-Style, why do you hate Junto? You need to stop the Asian hate. D-Style, why do you hate Junto so much? Why y'all spreading false propaganda out here that Junto is jumping weight classes to avoid Bam and other people? He's not going up to 122 till Inoue goes up to 126. We'll see. We'll see. Just kidding. Just jokes. But they want Inoue to go up, not because they want to see someone chase greatness, right? As if you can't chase greatness within your own weight class. I kind of like seeing a dude come into 122, especially after, I'm old enough to remember when he was at 118, right? Yeah, but he's beating foreign bums at 118. No, there's nobody down there anyway. Those are midgets. Just wait till he comes to 122 and fights a slick fighter in Stephen Fulton Jr., slick American fighter, right? And Stephen Fulton Jr. is going to style all over him. He's going to send him right back to 118 to the noodle weight classes, right? And then what happens? We saw what happens. Inoue brutalizes Stephen Fulton Jr. Absolutely brutalizes him. And before that fight, dudes are like, why is Stephen Fulton Jr. going to Japan? Why would he go to Japan? Why didn't Inoue come here and prove his greatness to us? Why didn't he do that? Why would Fulton Jr.? I don't know. Maybe he wants to make $2 million. I don't know. Maybe he wants to fight in front of actual people who actually pay money to watch him. Instead of fighting in Minnesota, where he makes a $51,000 live gate because everybody got in there for free. I don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. Why would he do it? Why would he do it? He's the A side because he's the champion at 122. Inoue should come here. And what happens? Fulton Jr. goes there and gets absolutely brutalized, beat from pillar to post. Just unbelievable. Right? And this division that Inoue was going to move up to and quickly get sent packing back down, what happens instead? He takes it over. He beats the number 1 guy. He beats the number 2 guy. And now he's beat the number 4 guy. And he's got his eyes set on number 3 and number 5. I kind of like seeing a dude say, y'all's division right there? Yeah, guess what? Watch this. I'm going to take it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. I kind of like that. I kind of like the guy saying, May, September, December, y'all are going to see me. I'm going to be fighting. Old school. Instead of hearing A side, B side, A side, B side. If it don't take dollars, it don't make sense. I can't feed my kid's legacy. Well, if you can't feed your kid's legacy, then Inoue can't either, right? So why would Inoue chase legacy at 130 and 135 if he can't feed it to his kids? He can't feed legacy to his children. Can't do it. You can't feed legacy to his children, which, by the way, is the dumbest statement I think I've ever heard in my life. Of course you can feed legacy to your children. Of course you can. You make money when you go after legacy. You make money when you achieve legacy. And by the way, you can show children your legacy on the wall. It's a good thing. You can't feed your kids legacy, though. You can't do it because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, then let's stay over here and make $20 million live gates then. If I can't feed my kids legacy, then I'll continue to fight these guys that you say are bums down here at 122 then. Can't feed my kid's legacy, so why would I? But in reality, he's already accomplishing legacy. In reality, just like Canelo, he's already achieved his greatness. Just like Bud, he's already achieved his greatness. Everything on top of what these guys have already achieved is what we call in New Orleans lagniappe. It's icing on the cake. It's cherry on top. He's achieved it. The Mayweather fans, circa 6, 7, 8 years ago, were getting mad at me when I was putting Chocolatito number 1 on the pound for pound list, getting mad at me when I had Chocolatito as a fighter of the decade, which was a no-brainer. 27 fights, had twice as many knockouts in the decade as Mayweather had fights. Getting mad at me. Because these dudes already achieved greatness. But he was knocked out by a bum. He was knocked out by a midget. These are the people we're talking about. Low IQ, unappreciative. So for Inoue, for me, anything you do going forward, you're good with me. You're fighting 3 times a year? At least, like two at least, 3 times per year? You're in title fights every time? And you want to knock guys out? And you fight with a high degree of difficulty? And you keep your hands free? You're good with me. They all have that in common. Inoue, Bud, Canelo. Those 3 have that in common. Different fighting styles. They keep their hands free. High degree of difficulty. All have achieved greatness. So beware of the traps. If you're Inoue's team, look, and they're going to try to use that against me. Oh, you just don't want to see Inoue lose. No, you want to see Inoue. You just don't want to see Inoue. No, you want to see Inoue lose is the problem here. That's what you want. You want to see him go up to 130. You want to see him go up to 135. Why would you give Tank that gift? Tell a dude to fight somebody in his weight class. This dude will not fight Devin Haney still. And he'll pull up to Devin Haney, right? Pull up on him. He'll pull up on him on side of a car, right? And of course, that gives Tank Davis another mythical victory. Did you see how Tank pulled up on Haney? Did you see how Tank pulled up on Devin? Oh, man. Devin would never beat him. You saw the body language, right? You saw the psychology there. No. He would not. Devin would not be able to take that Tank power because I saw the body language there. This dude is granted all kind of mythical victories, and he never has to go out and fight the actual fights. And they'll lie to you about his standing in the boxing world too. Not only on paper with the actual sport, but the business side too. Why does this dude need Benavidez on his card? Because he can't sell pay-per-views. That's why. What was his peak before Ryan? 215,000, something like that. These cheap cars that they put on with the cheap B-sides. And they'll call him the face of boxing. Just because. Just because. He's the face of boxing. Why is he the face of boxing? Just because he is. Racist. That's what we got. That's what we got. Respect the Emperor. I'm with the Chaos Drew. LOL. Shout out Luis Puente. But this is where we are with the situation. The American boxing media and much of the public will do this thing where they don't follow the lower weight classes. And admittedly so. They'll admit to you, we don't follow what's going on down there. We don't like watching horse jockeys fight. So fair enough. Don't talk about it. But instead, what they'll do is they'll interject into the conversation and they'll pick the biggest name close to that weight class that they know, and it's Tank Davis, for 2 reasons. 1, it's the biggest name they know close to the weight class. And number 2, they want to feed Tank easy victories. They want Tank to be so badly that he's not this guy. If he was, he'd be fighting the fights. He's not this guy. He's not him. He's not that guy. They want him to be a killer. He's walking around with a purse and painted nails. Do whatever you want to do, but he's not that guy. He's not fighting the fights. he's openly ducked Lomachenko for half a decade plus. Facts are the facts. He's not that guy. So this guy that refuses to fight Devin Haney unless Devin Haney comes down to whatever weight they want to fight at. If it's 140, they want to put a rehydration clause on him. Fair enough. But that guy right there, fan base, is asking for another fighter to come up 3 weight classes. Or 2 at a catch weight of 130. Whatever. And the American boxing media will partake in this for clicks. And that's how this grows legs. But really what this is a campaign for the guy who is considered by a growing number of people as number 1 pound for pound. They want to see that guy lose. They want to see that guy lose. I don't see Tank being in boxing much longer, in my opinion. We'll see. We'll see. Let's get to some other comments. They will say you have tiki torches in your closet. And look, the issue with boxing and much of the American boxing media is they appease. They appease. And that's how guys who don't belong in top 10 pound for pound lists, because simply they don't fight anybody, end up in top 10 pound for pound lists. They don't want to be called certain names. It gets exhausting. It gets exhausting. They don't want to be called these things. So they just give in. They appease. The problem with that is, much like with fighters taking VADA testing and stuff we were talking about earlier, is they're going to think what they want about you regardless of what you do. So just be yourself. If you have a clear criteria of tough resume, fighting the fights to get in the top 10 pound for pound, and all of a sudden this guy who has no resume pops in the top 10 pound for pound, it's like, wait a second. Wait a second. Why are they doing that? It's appeasement. It's appeasement. And that's how they get away with what they get away with. Let's see. PBC just signed Tank to a 7-fight deal. They're going to protect the investment even more now. No Shakur fight ever. I didn't see that. Did they? Tank had the nerve to say pass Floyd. Too many yes men around. Moving up to lower weight class. In lower weight classes ain't no thing. These divisions are separated by like 2 pounds. Wink. You are racist, Calix, because you are 1,000 Japanese. I am. That was in the 23andMe. 1,000 Japanese. So that's why I rock with them. Wheelchair Man John, those people are more about control than money. That's why I call them Protected Boxing Company. If it was all about the money, they would go to Saudi Arabia, wouldn't they? Yep. $10 super chat. Appreciate that. Drew, the smaller weight classes have a more macro talent pool of athletes because not many pro sports for their size and bigger athletes pick other sports. Compare 118 to 168, the athlete's better at 118. This is another thing. Another reason why I love watching lower weight class fights, following the lower weight classes, it resembles more of a sport. It resembles more of a sport. So, since the pay scale is more fair, since it isn't as inflated, what happens is these fighters are forced to fighting more. They're forced into fighting tougher competition per fight. And that's why I feel like more lower weight class fighters need to be represented on pound for pound lists in particular. They're not getting enough credit just because they don't have the eyeballs. And that's what's good about an Inoue, is he'll bring eyeballs to these lower weight class divisions. When you have 55,000 people show up to a venue, that's eyeballs on everybody underneath that card, so you can produce more talent out there. And what happens is a Jason Maloney will say, I'm not fighting in my home country next weekend underneath Kambosos and Lomachenko. What I'll do instead is I'll fight in front of 55,000 people in that dome underneath Inoue, because I understand the star that he is, and I also understand that that's where the money is right now. That's where the market is. And that's why I keep telling you, it's more than just exposure, though. It's more than just we have more exposure to Japanese fighters now, and that's why that's not what it is. It's part of it, but what it is they're producing better talent And you have Japanese fight fans that didn't go to fights and support boxing as much, nearly as much as they are right now. And that tells you that something different is going on over there. And you can see it reflected in the belt count too. Everybody at 118 that owns a belt is Japanese. Japanese fighter owns all the belts at 122. They're represented heavily 108, 112, 115. They're winning belts. They're winning meaningful fights. And in turn, people are starting to see this, and they're starting to go to more fights. And in the belt count, you now have Japan closing in on America in the belt count, which has never happened. Never happened. And it's something that's flying under the radar. And I think the American boxing media does not want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about how the world has gotten smaller. A lot of fighters don't have to come over here anymore to get their shine. And on top of that, they don't want to talk about how we're losing our grip on these belts, on these titles, on these achievements. It's never been USA 16, Japan 14, Mexico 12. You've never had that much diversity as far as belts. When's the last time we had 3 countries with double-digit belts? When's the last time that happened? Think about it. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. You have to ask yourself why. Why is that happening? As far as Canelo and how what happens with Canelo. Thought he looked good. Thought he looked really good against Munguia. Did what he had to do. I thought both fighters came out with a great game plan. We've talked about that on the round table and on HCP on D-Styles channel. Had Canelo winning 116, 111. Gave Munguia 1, 2, 3, and 9. I thought Munguia came out with the correct game plan. Bank early rounds. Hope your chin holds up. It's hard to give up the first 3 rounds because you have to win. If you don't get a knockdown, you have to win 7 out of the next 9 to win the fight. And it's impressive to see Canelo give up the first 3 rounds and still in between rounds, he's just resting against the rope, standing up. He's like, yeah, I'm going to get to this guy. I'm going to get to him. It's fine. It's fine. And he goes out and executes the game plan and still wins, ends up winning by 5 points on my scorecard. 6 points on one of the scorecards, 3 points on one of the scorecards, still ends up winning comfortably by decision. And that's impressive against a top 5 guy who I think, by the way, could arguably beat everybody in and around 168, 160, and Jaime Munguia. I think he's much improved. I think we see that now. And I'm glad for Jaime Munguia. I'm happy for him because in this loss, his stock still rose, in my opinion. I think people are going to be looking for Jaime Munguia. Why? Because it goes back to what I said earlier. It's not just about wins and losses. It's about, are you impressing? Are you entertaining people? Are you building an organic connection between you and the public? And Munguia is doing that. He beats Derevyanchenko. Everybody who beats Derevyanchenko barely beats him. He's the guy you got to get by. He's the ultimate barometer in and around that weight class. That's who Derevyanchenko is. Look at all the top fighters who had close fights with this guy. You don't go out of your way to fight that guy. They fight him and they beat him. Close fight, they beat him. He knocks out John Ryder. And then he comes in with Canelo and wins 3 or 4 rounds. His stock goes up. Now people are going to be looking for him. Not only because we see him as a legit fighter now who has a higher ceiling than we once thought, but he's entertaining. Even in losses, you're going to still be looking for this guy. And those guys are beautiful. You can be aggressive with those guys because it doesn't matter. The wins or losses don't break those guys. You can be aggressive with them. You can put that guy in fights. If he loses, people like me still show up. He's building an organic base, much like Canelo did. People try to do this thing with Mexican fighters and Mexican boxing fans, and it drives me insane. they'll do this thing where they'll say, yeah, he's Mexican, so he just has a built-in fan base. He didn't do it. He's just Mexican. He just showed up. He's Mexican, so he's got that base. It is what it is. He didn't do anything special. What they don't realize is that's an intelligent, high IQ base who likes to be entertained, and you have to fight with a higher degree of difficulty in order to impress those people. And another thing, I got to give him credit again. Ring IQ brought this up Monday night on the roundtable. Is I think part of the reason you see Canelo pound his chest and throw his weight around now and post-fight press conferences and say Viva Mexico and I'm the A-side and all this stuff is during that Mayweather era, there was this narrative that Mexican fighters are cavemen. And I've seen this around. I've seen it. That Mexican fighters aren't great boxers. And I've seen it with Canelo versus Mel. I saw it. You can pull up the low percentage of shots that Mel landed, that he threw, and people will still call Canelo concrete foot and stuff like that. Whereas Mayweather was able to do this, right? Mayweather was able to throw 30-something punches per round and keep guys at a low output, low percentage. And he was called a genius. Canelo does it. He's still a caveman. He's still concrete feet. It's a double standard. And I think Canelo has noticed this. And I think Canelo notices what I've noticed, that Juan Manuel Marquez, one of the greatest boxers I've ever seen. How that guy could pick off shots and land combination counters was amazing. But since he kept his hands free, it's a higher degree of difficulty. So he's able to be both entertaining and technically great at the same time, which is a beautiful thing. It's a perfect combination. But you listen to American fans, some of the American fans tell it is he got hit too much. And they'd rather see you clinch and hold and hold. And that's why over time, American boxing fans have diminished. They've gone down over time, is nobody wants to see that. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see Shakur Stevenson on July 6th. Why? Because he bored everybody to death multiple times. I don't need to see it. I don't need to, even as a boxing fan, even knowing that this guy is great and he's arguably one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, I don't need to see him fight. That's where I'm at with it right now. But one thing I know about the Mexican boxing fan is you need to entertain them. You need to entertain them because they're not a monolith. You could have many different styles. Marquez, and Alfredo Angulo, just one example. Many different styles, but you can't be clinchy. You can't bore people to death. You can't do it. And one thing I also know is they will leave you. Look at Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He inherited the best boxing base in modern boxing, Chavez Jr., from his dad. He's got the name. He inherited this base. It was handed to him. And what does he do? He loses it over time because he stops behaving like the guy that they thought they fell in love with. Why am I going to follow this guy still? They'll act like Mexican fans are just going to follow any Mexican fighter and then that's what it's going to, it's not that way. It's not that way. You got to impress. It's a two-way relationship. You got to impress. You got to entertain. You got to entertain. You got to do it. Canelo has kept that base over time. He's kept it. He's kept it because he's continued to behave like a fighter that they felt they fell in love with. So now it gets to a point where now we're going to see what happens with this. Because you look at the options, you look at the landscape out there for Canelo right now. If you look at it, the two fights that people want to see, depending on who you talk to, is Benavidez or Bud. Benavidez or Bud. Canelo is demanding $150 to $2 million for Benavidez. I think that's public negotiations. I think that's tongue in cheek. We'll see, right? Bud's fighting in August, so it's not going to be the September fight. Benavidez fights in June against Vodzik. We'll see how that goes. According to his team, he may not be able to bounce back that quick, which makes this more complex to follow, right? Whose fault is it really? But one thing I know is Canelo has, if you look at his resume, and we're all old enough to remember this stuff. I think educated boxing fans, we're old enough to remember the conversations we had, the videos we put out. Canelo ultimately fights the fights. And that's what happened with Golovkin's situation, right? I'm not going to be made to look like a fool multiple times. So I looked like a fool during that situation. Why? Because there are videos out there. I didn't delete them. Videos out there, me saying Canelo's not going to fight Golovkin. I even went as far as saying Canelo ducked Golovkin. But what happened in reality is within 17 months of becoming lineal champion, he signs on the dotted line to fight Golovkin. You have fighters today not fighting for 17 months. Within 17 months, he signs on the dotted line to fight the feared best middleweight in the world, Gennady Golovkin. Something that the previous two lineal champions in the weight class refused to do. My guy, Miguel Cotto, and Sergio Martinez. Golovkin was there for them to fight. They didn't fight him. Guess who did? Canelo. And he fought him again, and he fought him again. So it's comparing apples and oranges when you compare Canelo to other fighters. I do believe that Canelo does deserve some time or forgiveness if he milks this a little bit, but I don't know how much longer, fellas. Like, the fights need to be fought. If Canelo says he wants to stick around 3 to 5 more years, you need to fight the fights. I understand and I appreciate why he says the things after he fights. What are the things he says? The last couple of fights, he says, "I'm Mexican." He makes sure you know that. "I'm the best fighter in the world." Whether we agree with him or not, he says that. And the other thing he's now saying, which is new, is, "I'm the guy. I'll fight who I want. I don't owe anybody anything." That's the debatable part, and that's what we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. That one's new, and why people appreciate that and why people understand that he's saying that is because D-Style has brought this up. The guy's been a generous A-side. The guy fought Miguel Cotto at the weight that Miguel Cotto wanted to fight. He fought as the B-side in that fight. He fought as the B-side by far against Mayweather, fair enough. But also, he's appeased to Billy Joe Saunders, 22-foot ring, take it, whatever, last minute. He's appeased to Caleb Plant. I've never seen this, fellas. I've never seen this. I'm not saying this because I'm a Canelo Alvarez fan. It's not why I'm saying this. I've never seen an A-side by far. By far. If you look at what these guys really bring to the table, Canelo 95, maybe Caleb Plant 5%. I've never seen the guy that brings like 5% to the table, the B side, by that far, start to dictate terms. And his side of the table dictates terms as if they have leverage and say, if you want this fight, you got to come to Showtime. You want this fight, you got to give me 10 million instead of 8. I'm watching this in disbelief, just disbelief, but it ends up working. Nobody else would that have worked against. Nobody else. But Canelo, generous A-side, says, take your 10 million with pay-per-view upside. I'm going to change your life. And on top of that, yeah, I'll come over to Showtime. It's like, what? What? And he does it. And we get our undisputed fight. Who else would have done that, fellas? Name one. Name a fighter who has done that or would have done that. You can't. You can't do it. But now we deal with what is. We deal with the landscape right now. Benavidez at 175. Bud's currently moving up to 154. And of course, in Canelo world, we deal with this weird orbit where everything surrounds him. And he's, of course, needs to fight everybody 147 to 175, right? But There are two guys clearly who have risen above the rest. It's Benavidez and Bud. If you ask Turkey Al-Sheikh, he wants to make Canelo versus Bud December, January. So that gives us hope that we can see a big fight, right? And as far as September, I'm going to tell you this. Berlanga's name pops up. This is the only way that Berlanga is tolerable. And I'm just speaking for me. And I think I speak for the market here, if I've sized it up correctly. The only way that that's tolerable, palatable, is if, one, it's sandwiched in between Munguia in May, which has already happened, and another big fight in December and January. We have to know going into that September fight that you got something else coming December, January, something big. We got to know it. That's number one. Number two, it cannot be a pay-per-view. Cannot be a pay-per-view. When Oscar De La Hoya, he fought Mayweather, lost, but before he fought Pacquiao, who did he fight? He fought Stevie Forbes. He fought Stevie Forbes in a tennis courts in Carson, California. Why did he do that? And he priced it accordingly. First of all, he understood this is a stay busy fight. This is a guy I'm pulling up from 135. I outweigh him. And by the way, we know it was getting him ready for a smaller fighter, right? And we should have known at the time when we saw actually he stopped Stevie Forbes because he's bigger, but Stevie Forbes was actually touching him up a little bit. You look at Oscar's face after that fight. We should have known at the time Pacquiao's going to touch him up. But he fights the fight, prices it accordingly, puts it where ordinary people can see the fight. Not priced out. And on top of that, he puts it on regular HBO. Not HBO pay-per-view. He understood the market. And that's why he won long term. That's why he was the face of boxing for so long. He understood the market. Once you start to become a little too selfish, it can turn the market off. So Benavidez is tolerable. It's palatable. I mean, not Benavidez, Berlanga. Berlanga is palatable. We can tolerate it if it's done in two ways. It's got to be sandwiched in between two fights pretty quick, two big fights. Like Avni Yildirim, but much like Avni Yildirim, it's got to be on the subscription. It can't be on the pay-per-view. It can't be. So if you go in demanding 35 to 50 million to fight Berlanga, when it's not a 35 to 50 million dollar fight, and they have to put it on pay-per-view, that's when you're going to start to piss the market off. That's when that happens. So what I'm saying is, I'm just warning people this. That yes, Canelo has he's already cemented his legacy. Yes. And it can only go up from here. Yes. Unless you're Roy Jones and you stick around way too long and your legacy, you just destroy it over time. But with Canelo, that's not going to happen, I don't believe. But if you're going to stick around 3 to 5 years, you still got to fight the fights. I don't mind you saying these things. I don't mind you using your leverage with the public. Don't mind it at all. Don't mind you saying, I don't need to do anything to play. Don't mind that at all. But the actions have to show that your guy's still in it and you still want to fight the fights. And once that goes out the window, if that goes out the window, that's when you start to lose that fan base that you built up, part of that fan base anyway. And what I'm saying is I don't see that happening. I think this big fight is coming at some point, late 2024. I would venture to bet winter 2024, whether it be Bud or Benavidez. I hope it's Benavidez. I hope it's Canelo versus Benavidez. I hope it's September. I just think if we look at the landscape currently, I don't think the big fight's going to be in September. Bud's busy in August, and Turkey Al-Sheikh is doing this UFC 306 event on Mexican Independence Day weekend at the Sphere. So if Canelo is going to fight in September, I don't think it's going to be that weekend. Unless it's Benavidez. But the problem with that is if Canelo versus Benavidez happens, I think Turkey Al-Sheikh's the one that's going to put it on. Because I think he's the only one who could fork over the money, the amount of money that Canelo wants for that fight. I think Canelo is intelligently he's intelligently negotiating publicly. I think when he says Benavidez has nothing to offer me but 25, 30 pounds, I think he's publicly negotiating a catch weight. And I also think he's publicly negotiating a price. It's the art of the deal, right? If somebody is asking you what you're worth, you just say something absurd to start off the negotiation, right? Because it's going to drive their price up. That's Canelo saying 35 to 50 for that fight. The price of the brick is going up. For that fight, you're going to have to offer me more than that. I think that's what it is. But I'm just sitting here like everybody else. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen in September. I have no idea what's going to happen in December, January. I do think Berlanga is very possible for September, to be quite honest with you. And what I'm saying is, if that fight does happen in September, as long as it's done under those two circumstances that I said, I'm fine with it. If not, I'm not fine with it. And we'll call it out. But that big fight has to be sooner than later. Has to be. We all got to be in agreement there. It's got to happen. And Munguia is a big fight. It's a good fight. It's a good win. But it's not as big as those other two that are in demand. Personally, let me say what I personally want and don't need to see. I don't need to see Canelo versus Bud. Don't need to see it. I'd rather see Bud clean out 154 or attempt to. I'd rather see Canelo fight the top guy at 168, or the guy who was the top guy at 168, and Benavidez. That's what I'd rather see. Makes more sense to me. Canelo versus Bud, although I think it's a big fight, and I think it could be a competitive fight that Canelo would win. It's novelty-ish to me. So I don't necessarily need to see it. But Canelo Benavidez, I think that's the one elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. I'm tired of hearing the back and forth over it. I'm just exhausted with it. Let's just get in the same room and get that fight done sooner than later, is what I'd like to see. Other than that, I'm enjoying the greatness. I'm enjoying boxing is in a good spot right now with Turki Al-Sheikh involved. May in particular with Fury versus Usyk next weekend. Lomachenko's back this weekend. We had Inoue and Canelo just fight. We got other entertaining fights in May. I think we're in a good spot. We got Bam versus Gallo, which Gallo, fellas, I'm telling you this right now. Nighty-night for Gallo. Liza don't want to hear me say that, but Gallo's got it going nighty-night. Bam Rodriguez showed up to that press conference yesterday looking like the Vato Harry Potter. That guy's not to play with. Bam is sending Gallo into retirement. He sent him into retirement. If we talk about the best young American fighter, I think Bam is that guy. I think he's that guy. He's the only young American fighter that I have in the top 10 pound for pound. I think I have him like 7. And after that fight, he may go up even higher. Gallo's going nighty-night, fellas. But we've got intriguing fights. We got intriguing things happening. Turki Al-Sheikh has shaken the boxing world up a little bit, and it's good to see. So I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see where we go with this, and I'm gonna enjoy the fights and I'm gonna enjoy the greatness. Bud and Canelo standing next to each other, going to be the same size. Canelo won't ever get credit for how special his ability to be at much bigger dudes. That's reserved for certain media darlings. I agree with you. And that's what I talked about earlier as far as Canelo. The dude could put on a masterclass boxing performance, and dudes will still call him concrete feet. It is what it is. And I think Canelo he's correctly sized up the situation with Bud and saying, I don't think people are going to give me credit for that win. But once again, and it's the theme of this show today, people are going to think what they want about you regardless. So just be yourself. If you think Bud is a big legacy fight, go fight that fight. Right? Because even if Canelo fights Benavidez. I'm telling you, fellas, this is what I've said about the Canelo detractors, Canelo haters. I'm telling you this right now. Chicano will know this. They've heard me say this ad nauseum. You think if somebody hates you, it's impossible to make them unhate you. You can't appease to them. You can't do any of that stuff. Certain dudes have rolled out of bed, and it was maybe 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. We saw these dudes for Mexicans for Lara, Mexicans for Golovkin, Mexicans for Mayweather, right? And when I was out at Canelo versus Mayweather, Mayweather versus Canelo, I interacted with these dudes. And I knew some of them. And there was nothing Canelo could do to get in these guys' good graces, because at the time they felt he thinks he's the next Chavez and he's not Chavez, right? They just don't, whatever reason, pick it. They just don't like him. And whatever Canelo does, it's not going to make them like him. But even furthermore, it's not going to make them give him credit. Canelo, mark my words on this, fellas. Canelo could beat Benavidez. And there's going to be a built-in excuse already. You know what it is? It's going to be, yeah, but he weight drained Benavidez. Benavidez went up to 175 and came back down to 168. And Canelo and his team did that purposely to weight drain. It's going to be an excuse every single time. He wouldn't beat Benavidez at 175. It's never the other guy. It's never, yeah, but that guy's weight draining himself to get down to 168 for this long when he should have been at 175 or whatever. It's always going to be something. So be yourself. They're going to hate you regardless. The people who hate you are going to hate you regardless of what you do. So you might as well just be yourself. Don't appease. Don't appease. But what I would also urge you to do is, it's going to be another brutal news cycle. I'm just warning you right now. That last news cycle with Canelo before he signed the fight with Munguia was a brutal one. It was brutal. And this is going to be another one. I'm just warning you right now. There's going to be all kind of fake news reports. They're going to come out every day. Probably starting around June. Every day. Canelo's fighting this guy. He's fighting that guy. He's fighting on this network. He's fighting on the network. And everybody's going to spaz out about all of them. Remember when he's going to fight Carlos Adames? I think that was my favorite one. When Canelo was going to fight Carlos Adames. And I saw it. I was like, no. They're going to see past that one. No. They're going to see past that one at least. And they didn't. They were all spazzing out. Canelo's going to fight Carlos Adames. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This guy's ducking everybody. He's such a stupid. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. They couldn't even see past that one. Like this, you need to brace yourself if you're a Canelo fan. It's going to be a brutal news cycle. It's going to be exhausting. So what I would advise you to do is tune it out. Just find a hobby to do in the meantime, or, just follow the sport, do what you want to do, but you got to tune out that news cycle. I might even go on that search engine on Twitter and just mute Canelo for the time being, because I already see it. Like, these dudes are going to be spazzing out next couple months. Spazzing out, losing their minds. Eagerly awaiting what Canelo's going to do next. Is he going to fight September? Is he not? Is he going to fight this guy? So just get ready for it. And like everything, man, just sit back and relax, and then we'll see what happens, what his move is, and then we'll deviate from there. And we'll be fair about it. We'll just deviate. But the other bit of advice I will give you is enjoy the greatness while you have it. You have Canelo that just fought, Inoue who just fought. Bud's coming back in August, and it looks like he wants to come back pretty quick after that. Turki Al-Sheikh has pumped some energy into the sport. He's gotten rid of a lot of obstacles. So I think this is a point in time where we're going to see, we've talked about the pound-for-pound list, top 10 has fought a combined 1.4, 1.3 times per year, 14 times combined, 15 times combined. I think you're going to see that number go up this year. I think this might be the year we get back into the 20s, if you look at the landscape. I think you're going to see fighters fighting twice per year, maybe even 3 times per year, special fighters. So enjoy it. Enjoy it while you have it. No need to be miserable about anything. Let's just enjoy it while we have it. Enjoy the greatness. And I will be back. So Roundtable will be Monday night. I'll be on there. HCP will be on Wednesday, and I will likely be back on this channel on Tuesday. Tuesday, I'll be back to normally scheduled programming, fellas. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. The channel is back up and running. Appreciate y'all coming through today, and God bless. Peace.